Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a baking video. We are going to be making homemade chocolate chip cookies. I'm a little bit nervous and scared, but excited at the same time just because I've never ever tried out this recipe before. So we're gonna kind of do this together. We're gonna work together here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all goes well. So first things first, you're gonna wanna put your hair up if you have long hair, just because you don't want your hair in the food. I feel like that's definitely a no-brainer just because that's never a good situation. You're also gonna wash your hands because you are going to be using them for the dough. I just find it's easier to work with my hands rather than like a spatula or other kitchen utensils. And then lastly, you can go ahead and put on an apron just to protect your clothes, obviously, especially when you're dealing with flour and sugar and butter and eggs. It just gets a hot mess and you don't want that all over your nice clothes. So first things first, you're gonna wanna preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see behind me, I have two ovens, a top and a bottom, so I did go ahead and preheat both because this dough seems like it makes a lot of cookies, so I wanted to be prepared. This recipe from start to finish is going to be 45 minutes long. I feel like it's not gonna take that long, but we'll see. It also says that its serving size is 48 people. Again, we will see. I tend to make bigger cookies, so I feel like it's gonna be a lot less than that. But next, here we go. We're gonna get into the ingredients that you will need. If you have any questions, just leave them down below. I will have the recipe linked in the description box, just in case you're having trouble following along with the video. But without further ado, we're gonna get along with this, so stay tuned and enjoy. This recipe calls for 10 ingredients. You are going to need 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of baking soda and half a teaspoon of salt, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 cup or 2 sticks of softened butter, 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and lastly 2 cups or 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips. To make the dough, start by adding and mixing in your butter, eggs, vanilla extract, and sugars. So this is the consistency that we are going for. As you can see, it is a bit gooey. However, when we do add those dry ingredients in, it will stiffen up. So first you're going to take your baking soda and your salt and go ahead and mix that in. And then you're going to take the all-purpose flour and mix that in as well. So this is what your dough should look like once you have mixed in the dry ingredients. The last thing we are going to add in is the semi-sweet chocolate chips. This recipe also accounts for 1 cup of coarsely chopped nuts. However, because of personal preference, I did not add them in. This is what your dough should look like once you mix in these semi-sweet chocolate chips. The next thing we are going to do is put the dough into smaller portions onto an already buttered baking sheet. A tip that I was taught is once you unwrap your butter, keep the wrapping and use that to butter your baking sheet. This will help with the cookies not sticking to the baking sheet once they have been fully cooked. Next, you are going to use your hands to grab a small portion of the dough and ball it up. It may take a little bit to get the right size of the cookie dough. However, aim for something like this. Then go ahead and place each ball onto your baking sheet. Make sure to place each ball of dough around 2 inches apart to prevent overlapping. Do the same for the rest of the dough. This is what your cookies should look like once you have finished with all the dough. As you can see, I have 2 separate baking sheets. The recipe accounted for 48 servings, however, I made 24 cookies. The cookies are a little larger than what the recipe called for. Bake the cookies 8 to 10 minutes or until they are lightly brown around the edges. Remember that the center of the cookie will be soft. This is what your cookies should look like once they have finished baking in the oven. These ones I have made took around 14 minutes. Remember, the bigger the cookie, the longer it will take. The next thing we are going to do is take a spatula and remove the cookie from the hot baking sheet and place it onto the cooling rack. If you do not have a cooling rack, feel free to use a cutting board instead. As you can see, I am not having trouble removing the cookies from the baking sheet because we buttered our baking sheet before. It makes this job of removing the cookies a lot easier. Allow the cookies to cool for around 5 to 10 minutes. This is just to make sure they have cooled completely before putting them into a Tupperware or plastic baggies. This way, they don't melt and break apart. Make sure to store them in a tightly sealed container. That way, the cookies don't become stale. So I've allowed these cookies to cool for 10 minutes just to be sure that when I try one, I don't burn my mouth. So once you're done, obviously, allowing the cookies to cool, you can go ahead and put them into a plastic Tupperware and then just go ahead and serve them whenever you want, or you can put them into plastic baggies to take for lunch or just have a good treat whenever you want on the road. So I'm gonna go ahead and try one of these. I'm a little bit nervous but excited. Cookies, I will say, are not one of my favorite things. I'm more of a salty girl, but these do look quite delicious. So let's see here. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's really good. And I'm not just saying that. I do wish that I would have taken them out of the oven a little bit sooner because they are a little bit hard on the bottom. So I would say if you're gonna do bigger cookies, instead of 14 minutes, I would maybe do like 12 to 14, so I'd maybe take them out at 12 minutes just to be sure. Sometimes when you're looking into the oven, it can be a little bit tricky because you don't want them to be raw, you know what I mean? But wow, these are really, really good. And I definitely think that you guys should give this a try. Leave a comment down below if you do try out this recipe and how it turned out for you and if you liked it or not. I am so curious to know. If you like videos similar to this, just go ahead and give this a thumbs up. I really enjoyed today's video. Baking is one of my all-time favorite hobbies and passions that I love doing. So this was definitely different for me. It was a tricky video to film just because of all the different snapshots that I had to get, but it was definitely worth it. And now I get to enjoy my creation. So yeah, so if you liked today's video, like I said, just go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next one. I love you so, so much. Bye, guys.